Are the president's executive orders working at the border? What have you seen?
The numbers have dropped significantly since that executive order went into effect in early June. But the big question, which I assume the Trump campaign is going to hit them with, is why did you wait over 3 years to do this executive order? You could have done it when the crisis first started in 2021 or 2022, but they waited until an election year to do it. And remember, he said over and over, I've done all I can do on the border. Evidently not.
Now that is Fox News talking to a reporter with the thickest, luscious, tallest hair in the business, who had to acknowledge that the recent Joe Biden border executive order that is patterned largely on some of the components of what they wanted their border security bill to do. All of this designed to appease and appeal to Republicans. It's in many ways similar to what Donald Trump would like to do if he gets in office, has actually accomplished its goals. It's not my goals necessarily, but for Joe Biden and the Republicans who are saying we're being invaded at the border, well, we're being at least 40% less invaded than we were, because it does seem to be working. And we have more here.
One executive order supposedly to try to address the issue. It's window dressing.
You have to focus on the true details here. Yes, he's going to limit and restrict asylum to some people who cross the border illegally in between ports of entry, but he's going to continue bringing in tens of thousands of migrants per month using this CBP1 app and flying them into the country via these parole flights. So the illegal crossing numbers may go down a little bit, but he's bringing more people into the country through quote unquote lawful pathways, which are just programs he's created at the executive level, guys.
Okay, so yes, you recognize those two people correctly. That was Mike Johnson saying that, the Speaker of the House saying that it's not going to work. It's not going to accomplish its goals. Bear in mind, he's one of the guys who helped to kill the border security bill, which also, according to them, would have had that effect, but that's why they didn't want it to pass. And then judging by the hair, that was the same reporter who was saying, oh, they're just going to do it in some other way. Okay, you'll notice in the more recent reporting, he's not reporting that that's actually what's happened. That was their prediction to get out ahead of the fact that they knew that this would work. They didn't want it to be done in legislative form, in executive order form, because they don't want border crossings to fall. They want them to remain where they're at, if not go up, so they can fearmonger over the issue, so they can terrify people. That's what they're trying to do. In the same way that they're doing it with the inflation numbers, in the same way they're doing it with crime numbers around the country, they don't want things to improve, and they're being very transparent about that. Yaz, what do you think?
Yeah, John, you and I both live in border states. And it's kind of just like what we were talking about with the economy and security and perceptions. That's what this comes down to. Again, the numbers are there. We see what they're doing as far as, helping to curb illegal migrants from across the border, but also to process the people who are already here. And the people who I know, the Republican people that I know who are the most scared of things like illegal migrants are the same people who watch Fox News all day, but they also live in gated communities or they don't work. There's no chance that some illegal person is going to come and take their job or anything like that. So it really is a lot of it in their heads because they don't personally have any kind of personal experience with illegal migrants and their own quality of life going down because of it. But when we were talking about COVID wasn't real because they didn't personally know anyone who had COVID. So if they didn't see it for themselves, then it was not a real thing. But a lot of it is, they'll see what they want to see. If you go to the grocery store and you see someone who's kind of brown, you can make up your own assumptions about those people, how they ended up here, whether or not they're illegal, and whether or not it's conscious or not. I mean, a lot of these people who live in this kind of state of fear, they do make those assumptions about a lot of those people. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, the idea that our politicians are, both political parties, I should say, not just the politicians, but the parties as a whole, the idea that they use these very, very hot button issues as election fodder is really unacceptable. On the left, we saw what the Democrats did as far as women's rights to health care regarding abortion and things like that, how they could have done something to help us, and then they didn't because they know that women are going to go and vote based on that issue. They're doing the same thing with the border. If they have issues, they have solutions for them, or they at least have ways in which they could try to ameliorate whatever situations they are presenting to the people. It's not enough to be a politician and just say, these are the problems. This is what you should be afraid of. You're supposed to offer those solutions and also at least try to implement those solutions. Becoming a politician in this modern America today is really just becoming a career political candidate because they're always a candidate for their re-election campaign.
Just briefly, I think everything that you said is true, but I think it's even a little bit weirder because you're right to say people shouldn't want, whether they do or not, shouldn't want some politician who's just like, here's the problem and not have a solution. But in this case, it's weirder because they're saying, here's the problem at the border. Here's what I want to do. So Joe Biden's like, okay, then let's do that. And they're like, no. That's very weird. That's strange. And look, when it comes to the border, yes, I think it's very easy to convince a lot of these conservatives to be scared and to not trust these numbers because they're just hearing that bad things are happening. The weird thing is that the politicians don't want the good news to get through, but the viewers don't want to believe it either. They don't want to believe that there's less crime. They don't want to believe that the border's better. They like the idea that we're pre-apocalyptic. And that's a difficult thing to fight back against when people cling to the idea that things are worse than they perhaps are. Yeah. Anyway, we only have a couple of minutes. Sorry, quick final point.
Yeah, I was just going to say that in order to accept that something like the border crisis isn't really as bad as they're saying it is, that would mean having to say, oh, maybe a lot of what Fox News or these people who I trust and listen to, maybe a lot of what they're saying, I can't really trust as much as I want to. It becomes a whole thing where you have to kind of accept all or nothing of what you're being told. It's like, whenever you have a two-party system, you have these two baskets of beliefs and you have to take one basket or the other. And the minute that you start to try to like maybe grab from the other basket, it's like, now I don't have a basket. And now I don't know what to do with myself. So it's like an identity crisis.
It is. And Fox helps to protect them from ever experiencing the cognitive dissonance of seeing something appealing in that other basket. Members make a difference here at TYT. You help make the show happen, and we see you in the chat with your loyalty badge. Click the join button to become a member today.